Here. So real quickly, I'm going to give a construction committee update, and I'm going to try and do this relatively quickly. Again, this is our committee, myself, Rick Spooner, Robin Baker, Brandon Del Rosario, Sydney Benware, and Leslie Leggett are our committee. Of course, Brother Bob, Brother Jonathan, very active with us as well. Just real briefly, I'm going to give you a little bit of a history, just a reminder. We started this journey about 3 years ago. Thank you. Started this journey about 3 years ago in February of 2020. As we're entering into COVID, we had a church data survey about needs. And so from that survey, the church identified and approved in July of that year an action plan for a three-phase approach to address the ministry needs that the church had provided in the survey itself. And with that, we started Project Reach in September of 21, which included our giving campaign. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes. Again, the first part of that to address some needs that we had at the food pantry and in the kitchen, and then proceed with a children's building. So just real quickly, the church survey highlighted inside our church we had some issues with our nursery and preschool and children's area, and less so in some other areas. But we need to address those as well. So next slide talks a little bit about food pantry and our kitchen were high needs, again, in the survey itself, and parking. So we had an internal view of needs, and then we had an external view of those. And those two questions led us to the process that we are in right now in regards to the new children's facility. So I hope you've seen these slides before because I keep using them. But I'm updating you here that in phase one, two major things are complete. We built a brand new food pantry facility, which is fantastic and is well serving this community. We also addressed some significant needs inside the kitchen. And while it's not perfect, Miss Debbie, we tried to give you a new place. And that obviously is serving both internal and potentially external needs. Also included in that phase was an evaluation for a covered walkway, covered drop-off. And we tabled that work until phase two, and I'm going to show you why in just a few minutes. So in red circle, we're trying to address this now in our children's building update. Construction of a new building for nursery, preschool, and children. Reconfigure the south side of the parking lot and parking area back over here. And then again, a covered drop-off and walkway area for children, seniors, families, because Dad gets to drop them off and park in the rain, but the kiddos and the moms and our seniors, we're trying to get them a place where they can have an opportunity to be dropped off and kept dry. Phase three is into the future, about remodeling potential buildings, and that will happen well into the future. So phase one mostly complete. We're well into phase two, and I'll talk about that now in an update. So let's talk about where we're checking the boxes. We're going to share, and I shared with you in front of the sanctuary service a couple of weeks ago, an update on the building. I'll go into more details, and if anybody's interested after our business meeting, I'll be glad to stand up front and show you what is not whiteboard. I'll turn it over, and we'll actually look at the building. Yeah, that's really, it's invisible ink, right? Yeah. So we have a design for a new single facility for nursery, preschool, and our children. It incorporates a lot of upgrades to address security concerns, integrated well within our existing campus. Again, as a reminder, our children, grades 1 through 5, have to leave the secure area with an adult to go to the restroom. And it's an outcome and an issue with how the building was constructed, 5 decades ago, 6 decades ago, I guess now, with the needs now for security that was not an issue 6 decades ago or 5 decades ago when I started walking around this campus. So that's very much needed. Some parking upgrades on the south side of campus, the incorporation of a covered drop-off, and again, dressing this visual of what the front door of our campus looks like so that a visitor or somebody in our community can look and go, that's where I'm supposed to go when I go on campus to visit that church and to become part of that church. So I know this is small font and you may be able to see it. Oh, well, we'll go ahead to the next slide. So some building details that what we have incorporated into this design. It's approximately 9,000 square feet. We have capacity for 130 children on a how many children per square foot basis. Randy and others have been gracious to provide that to us. And Randy, that matches everything we've heard from the architectural world as well. So everything's great. Currently we have about 50 in our weekly attendance on Sunday in the children's and from nursery all the way to children. So well in excess of what we have right now and given an opportunity for growth. Secure check-in, check-out. We have a covered walkway, which is at the top right of the screen. Top right of the screen, there's a one-way street and avenue. And again, this is just to the west of the Family Life Center. And again, I'll be able to talk through that in a minute. Space for future play areas. And again, not including the large group areas, we have the capacity for 130 children. But this includes large group areas, so if they have a group activity for all grades 1 through 5, they can all gather in one location. The same is true of maybe the preschools 3 through age 5. Have an opportunity to gather. It incorporates a kitchen, storage, of course the required restroom and access facilities for things like that. This has been a tremendous amount of work and now reaching toward this design. It's an L-shaped facility. It's a single-story facility, and again, it's a separate location over here on the south side of our campus. We explored significantly, and I'll answer a potential question. Why didn't we connect it here as originally proposed almost 20 years ago, or maybe in between, build a facility between the Family Life Center and our church sanctuary? The problem is retrofitting a building, attaching it to a new building means you incorporate, in this case, about $250,000 to install firewalls. And so you have to put a firewall on the new building, you have to retrofit the old building, and you have to incorporate a firewall between the two. And so in essence, you're investing a lot of sunk dollars that get no value from a classroom space and et cetera. So a lot of guidance from our architects and our contractors that a single-story facility is and detached from any buildings is the most cost-effective way to go to get the most classroom space for our dollars. So the next slide shows a little bit of a visualization. Oh, sorry, one more. So this week, we met with the architects and contractors extensively through the first quarter. They have worked through this revised design with a lot of input. And on Wednesday, we voted as the construction committee to authorize them to proceed to detailed design, the funding of which has already been approved by the church in a previous business meeting. They have about 3 or 4 months of design ahead, and then obviously we'll have full church approval at a future business meeting before we can enter into a contract for construction and et cetera. Okay? Any questions up to this point? All right, next slide. Again, just a visual of what the facility looks like. So this is coming in on Ann Street. As you're facing east, this direction, the building over to your right, you see the sanctuary on the left of the screen, the Family Life Center on the far right, and you can see covered walkways that would connect the two. The covered drop-off is just to the right of that bell tower. By the way, we would love to have that bell tower there, but they're not free. So it likely will not end up in our design. Next slide is a different orientation facing the southeast from in front of the sanctuary. So if you're literally standing out in the courtyard area here, looking over, you can see the new children's facility there on the right of the screen, Family Life Center in the background. And again, the covered drop-off is between the new facility and the Family Life Center. And Bo, if you could go back 3 slides rather. Thank you. If you'll notice to the right of the new facility, which is kind of in the orange, brown color, We are well aware we're going to impact some parking over here in front of Building G on the south side, so we have replaced that with new paved parking between the Family Life Centers. Actually, better parking, closer to the sanctuary, and again, accessible to covered areas so that the predominant handicapped and disabled parking that we have here is going to be removed and replaced with better location parking. So we've been very mindful of that to make sure that's addressed as well. Sorry, thank you, Bo. Go back to the last visual. And thank you. So in front of the sanctuary, facing directly at the building, again, you can see very clearly the front door of the new children's building. And again, short cul-de-sac and some other, designs. You can see a little bit of the architectural design of the walkways that we intend to take care of. So next slide is our last one. From a giving standpoint, where are we with giving? We are approaching 1.3 million, which is fantastic. We've been very, very pleased. The last couple of months have been very large giving months, and for that we're very thankful. For the full building scope, this is a range. We think the scope somewhere between 2.2 and 2.5, and that's significant. And as mentioned earlier, we've got another 11 months of giving toward the campaign itself.